Hello everybody, this is me, Amin.
This is Alex.
And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About. And this is the new format that we're trying for 2023 where we recap the most happening news that happened in the past 7 days. So this is Friday, 17th of February. And I think a lot of quite interesting things happened. So on my list, and this is based on what readers are reading, and it's based on our website data. So on my list is about the digital road tax and something to do with the MyJPJ app. And then also what happened this week is the launch of the locally assembled Mercedes-Benz EQS 500. So that means the top of the line Mercedes electric vehicle is now cheaper. And then we also have Shopee now providing loans for people, and it has an unfortunate name called SLoan. It's spelled SLON without space.
Yeah, Sloan.
And then, of course, also this week, we have Tengku Zafrul announcing some new EV incentives.
He teases some
Yeah.
potentially new incentives.
Yeah, and what does that mean? So does that mean EVs don't have to pay road tax, or is the road tax structure different? Because previously they had JPJ had a calculation for EV road tax in Malaysia, and you pointed out during our pre-show discussion that the ICE top of the line Kona, the 1.6 turbo, which is 200 horsepower, and the Kona EV Max, which has the same power but a bit more torque, the road tax is 10 times more?
Yeah.
For the EV version.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get down to business. The first in our list is digital road tax and MyJPJ app. So what happened this week about that?
So, our current Transport Minister, Anthony Loke, so basically what happened, he made an announcement on the 10th of February. So before that, in the past few weeks, I think past month or so, or even before that, other people complained that the quality of the road tax sticker is terrible, and tearing it off, peeling it off from the main paper is like a tricky affair. And then Appeal complained about it, and he said, okay, he's going to look into it, he's going to address the issue. And he announced that, you don't even need to use the road tax anymore, effective immediately. And this is applicable for the driver's license as well, and it's for private vehicles only. So if you are using a private vehicle and if you're a Malaysian, you don't need to have the physical road tax and the driver's license. You just use the digital copy, which you can obtain from the MyJPJ app.
Okay, so it's a huge deal. I think when the news was announced, I think it's actually really good. Because as you all know, anybody who has a car, the road tax sticker, right? It's usually blue color. This sticker I don't think is a quality issue. I think the reason why the sticker is really difficult to peel off is because it's tamper proof.
Yep.
Because back then, I don't know if our viewers are that old. You had road tax that's printed from paper, like literally a piece of paper.
They call it a disc, right?
Yeah, and the paper has some tamper-proof or photocopying patterns in place that if you photocopy it, it's quite difficult. But you can, because now you have scanners and all that, so it was easy to copy and put on and stick on a car. So JPJ decided, okay, we're gonna make do with this paper road tax, which was super easy to apply. That's why you have the road tax stickers, ma.
Yep.
You just stick it on and put on the paper, and then after that, they changed to this literally like a sticker format that even if you look at it funny, it will peel off. It will tear off.
Tear off, yes.
So number one, it's difficult to tear it off from the paper itself. It's difficult to stick properly, and it's difficult to take off because there's a lot of glue residue. It did its purpose, so it kind of reduced the likelihood of people duplicating the road tax and sticking it on another car that doesn't have a road tax, for example, right? So it made it almost not impossible to transfer. The problem is it's so difficult to remove that people stop sticking it on their windows.
Yep.
I do that. I don't have a road tax on my thing. So when I go past roadblocks, I'll just take it out from the dashboard and just put it near the window there to say the police there, okay, I have this, and then he will tell me, next, please stick it But then I say, okay, yeah, but then I never stick it on.
For me, it's like I never peel it off. I just keep the white one. I do the old school style. The whole shit, right? I just fold the sides and then use the plastic whatever thing, just stick it on, so you can see the raw text there, but it's in the white color paper. I didn't peel it off.
Yeah, so basically we kind of like hacked it, Malaysia way, right? Anything can, right? So we just, as long as it's there, the police can see it, it's fine.
Yes.
But because of that, it doesn't defeat the purpose anymore. It doesn't serve its purpose anymore. So people can transfer the thing and then everything. So not really an issue.
Yep.
Okay, but that is not the issue with this announcement. So it's a good thing, but why is the internet not happy with what has been announced and what happened after that?
Yeah, so I think the first things first is that the main issue with the MyJPJ app, and when it comes to government apps, right, about their readiness for this kind of announcement.
Yes, government app development is the best, man.
Yeah, so as usual, when they announce this thing, right, there's a surge of people trying to access the app, try to register, try to log in, and the whole thing was pretty jammed up. Like when you try to go in, right, on the first day of announcement, you always get connection error. It cannot work.
So it's like overloaded.
Yeah.
But okay, before we go into the app, right, let's take a step back and go through the process. So you don't have to stick it on your car.
Yep.
But to prove that you have road tax, you go through an app.
Yes.
And this app is something that nobody has it. Not a lot of people has it. It's not. Is it new or is it unknown or what?
I would say it was been released last year. I think it's around the final quarter. I think around October like that, and it's used for other things. You can actually check the status of your road tax and all that status only, and then you can also use it to report traffic violations and all that. But now the new features that if you go to the profile page, you get a digital copy of your road tax and your driver's license.
Okay.
Yes.
So for you to qualify not to display your road tax, you need to have the app installed.
Yes, and then it's just to remind everyone that this is only applicable for private vehicles.
Yep.
So company registered, you are not eligible for this. And also in terms of the digital driver's license, it's only for for Malaysian drivers. For Malaysian drivers with a full license, not the what's it?
P license, L
Yes.
license. So either you have D. And B, like GDL and all that doesn't apply, right?
Yeah, but of course for foreign drivers, right, you need to carry license. And also similarly, if you're going to drive overseas, like I don't know, to Thailand, to Indonesia, to Singapore, you need to have a physical card.
Okay, so then everybody downloaded the app, tried to access, cannot. Then a lot of people complain.
Yeah.
And then I think we did a story about that. We reached out to JPJ.
Yeah.
So what was their response?
We reached out to MOT, Ministry of Transport, and they said, the app's under JPJ, so in a way it's their jurisdiction. And then
JPJ is under MOT, right?
Yeah, it's under MOT, but basically it's saying, it's in a way it's like long story short, it's normal. You wait for a while, you sort this stuff out. In a way it did, because now it's normalized, so it can access. Another side of the spectrum is that there are netizens as usual making noise. Hey, this is a dumb idea. What happens if my phone died at a roadblock? When everyone has a phone, you know how to maintain a phone, and suddenly when you see roadblock, your phone just died. No internet, no battery, all of a sudden. And so what happened? Will police me? Blah 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 blah. So Anthony Loke had to issue like a FAQ, say, okay, the thing is, if you cannot access the digital license in your phone, don't worry, don't panic, because the enforcement agencies, they also have their own app. They can also check as well. They can just key in your car plate number, it can be done. And some say, what if it's a family car? What if my wife or children drive and they don't have a digital license? Will they get summoned as well? Not an issue. They can check from the database as well whether it's valid or not. And then you can be fine. And also another thing is that there are some complain that this is going to have a going to cause more congestion at roadblocks. Okay, number one is, how often do you see a roadblock?
Not often.
Yeah, and also if they want to have a large scale operation to catch people with expired road tax, right? The police already have a lot of tools. There's MCOPS, ICOPS. There's a lot of systems that use number plate recognition, which you can just scan through. This has been introduced, I think, for a couple of years now. Yeah. So you can just run scanners to just see the car, the number plates, and they can know straight away whether someone has a valid license or it's a mismatch, possibly a stolen vehicle. They can have those systems in place. So those are not really an issue.
And okay, it's not compulsory, right? I mean, the government will still issue physical road tax, and you will still be issued physical driver's license.
Yeah, and then Anthony Loke said that if you're not ready to go digital, just use the normal physical road tax, because right now it's not mandatory, it's optional. Yeah. So to make it clear, right, it's not illegal to put a road tax. You still can put it. It's not a police summon. You got road tax, summon. No, you still can do. If you're not comfortable making the change, just use the Rotex, no issue.
I mean, if you like sticking it on, if that's something that you prefer to do, go ahead and do it. You now have an option. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So the uproar was because, it's going to be a hassle and stuff like that, or do I need my own phone? I mean, for me, digitalization makes life easier. And like I mentioned, right, you don't have to apply the sticker. You don't have to have the headache of removing the sticker.
Yep.
It's not really an issue.
Yep.
Why are people up in arms about it?
Netizens,
Yeah, the other thing is I think media people should not give netizens attention, to be honest. Every time I see a headline that says, netizens not happy or netizens in an uproar over something, who the hell are netizens? Do we even verify that they are people or they are scammers?
And do they represent the actual majority?
Yeah, they don't. They don't. They don't. So, okay, I think one last point here is the MyJPJ app. So everything now has been settled. You tried it, right? I haven't tried it.
I tried it.
It works. So you have it. You have it on your thing now.
Yeah, and then you can screenshot and save it in the phone, so you don't need to use app at all.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Okay. Then the issue. Then I think a few days after that, our best friend made some noise about the MyJPJ app.
Yeah, former Transport Minister Wee Ka Siong raised in Parliament, said, this is a huge security issue, and then said that with just your IC number, right, they can get all your details.
Okay. Explain what he said. And explain whether there is an issue or not.
So that's what he said. So basically, with the IC number, right,
how is that done?
So he didn't exactly explain how it's done, but based on our checks, right, what he said has some truth to it, because when we first released, right, anyone can just create the app. All you need to do is just log in using your IC number, and that's it. You can create your email or that. There's no extra layer of verification. Okay. So if you got someone's IC number, you can go create an account, you can access all the information. So, but this has been fixed because the government said that they released a new version, should be rolling out right now. When you create a new account, you have to add additional information like the driver's license last few digit number to verify that it's really you. So that has been sorted out.
But the driver license number, I mean, that's an information that's easy to get, right? I mean, like IC number should be super difficult to get, but Malaysians share IC number like nothing.
And also with the loads of data breach around, I think IC numbers are everywhere.
Not really an issue lah.
Yeah.
But the thing also is that app was also under his jurisdiction before, right?
It was released in October when he was still the minister or caretaker minister, and he said, he's actually against the MyJPJ app. But the app was released. So I don't get it.
Okay, so anything else you want to add with regards to digital road tax?
I think that's pretty much it. Quite straightforward. Try it if you want to give it a go. If you're not comfortable, just stick to the normal road tax.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Okay, speaking about digital road tax and cars, we also had a launch this week, and it is the Mercedes-Benz EQS 500. So the EQS 500 is not a new car. It's been, I think, released last year. What's new about it is now it's been locally assembled. So the top of the line Mercedes electric vehicle is now being assembled in Malaysia. And because of that, it is now 50,000 ringgit cheaper than before. The price was what before?
Previously, it was like closer to 700,000, like 698,000 ringgit. So now it's 648,000 ringgit. So 50k cheaper, enough for you to buy a new Asia top spec.
Yeah, it's one car cheaper.
Yes. Yeah.
So why is a lot of people interested about this? Well, I think there is a degree. There's always a degree of curiosity when a new car is launched, and there's always a degree of it's double because when a new car is launched, okay, people want to know what car it is, despite whether it's high end, low end, whatever. Like we saw that in the Asia. I think more so if it's cheaper, like the Asia. But this one is because it's a car, and it's also an EV. And it's launched it's built in Malaysia. Yeah. So is there any difference from the CBU and CKD models?
Okay, I think before that, I think what the biggest significant difference is that this Mercedes-Benz is the second car maker to locally assemble EVs in the country. Because right after Volvo, which they announced I think last year. So
Volvo has two models, right? Yes. The XC40 and the C40.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is basically the third EV model to be assembled in Malaysia. All right. So back to the EQS. So the new one is EQS 500 CKD. The previous one is EQS 450 Plus. So the looking at the number, the first thing you notice is the power. So the new
so this is more. This
powerful.
Is higher variant, higher model, is it?
Is more powerful. So it's a twin motor because the CBU one was single motor. So this new one produces like 100 over horsepower because
100 over horsepower more.
Yes, because the new one has twin motors producing 330 kilowatt. That's 443 horsepower and a whopping 855 Newton meters of torque.
That's why you need all-wheel drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
and then it shaves off about 2 seconds from the 0 to 100 time. So
2 seconds, 2 whole seconds.
Yes. So this 2.6 ton vehicle can do 0 to 100 in 4.8 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much does it weigh again? 2.6.
Yes, 2,615 kilos.
Well, I guess that's because, okay, number one is, I don't think it's because of the size. It's because of the technology and also the battery.
Yes.
So I guess people who bought the EQS 450 Plus before for more, which is close to 700,000, wouldn't they be angry?
Yeah, if they want power in terms of power, yeah, they definitely feel like a bit shortchanged. But the older one, CBU, right, has one advantage. It has the AMG pack. So so basically the different body kit, so the front looks more sporty, and you have bigger wheels. It's 21-inch, so the new one is 20-inch.
20 smaller wheels better.
Yeah, and then
bigger wheels not comfortable.
And the interesting part is that in terms of tires, right? So the new CKD
is
model,
it EV specific tires?
EV specific tires now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one's running on Pirellis. And then there's a specific Pirelli Z
P0 Elect, I think.
Yeah, correct. The previous one is a Goodyear asymmetrical 5 or something like that.
Goodyear Eagle F1 Symmetry 5.
Yes.
Asymmetric 5.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
So the new one is EV specific. So be prepared to pay more for your tires.
Speaking of EV specific tires, I think Duke wrote a really interesting article about whether you need EV specific tires. So can you summarize that? Do we actually really need EV specific tires?
Well, it depends. Because most of the EVs in Malaysia, most of them actually don't use EV specific tires. They're using regular tires, but some of them have extra optional items inside, like the foam, which adds to the price. So in the general rule of thumb is, number one is make sure it's within the spec in accordance to your manufacturer, and also it has the higher load rating.
Yep.
So so you don't really need to have EV specific tire. Just make sure it follows the specs.
Yeah. So you can buy the Mercedes and spec it down to like a non-EV specific tire.
Possibly.
I don't know why they use the P0 Elect. I mean, okay lah, it has 400 horsepower, 800 Newton meters of torque, huge. Like if I bought the older version, the EQS 450 Plus, and it's not even a year ago that it was launched, right? So correct me if I'm wrong with this mathematics. So when you buy the EQS 450 Plus for 690 something thousand ringgit, then the new model or the new variant is launched, made in Malaysia, assembled in Malaysia, EQS 500, has more power, 2 whole seconds faster, all-wheel drive, and is 50,000 ringgit cheaper.
Yes.
So by that definition, right, my car, the EQS 450, if I bought it last year, and not even 12 months, right, would have depreciated at least 50,000 ringgit.
Well, it depends, because according to Jonathan, right, you want to change the wheels to the same wheels as the EQS 450 Plus, it's going to cost you probably about 20,000 plus. And there's a body kit as well, the AMG kits.
That doesn't appeal to me because it's
power, man.
Yeah, it's 2 seconds slower.
Yes.
No, the thing is, it's like this, right? So if I was going to put it in up for sale, right, I have to sell it at the same price as a brand new EQS 500.
Well, it depends, because there's another advantage of the old EQS 450 because it has a less powerful car. And
so the more range.
Yes, more range, yes. So the EQS 450 Plus has a range of about 631 to 782 kilometers of range, so close to 800. Whereas for the EQS 500, the range is about 580 to 696 kilometers.
Oh, 600 kilometers of range is huge for an electric vehicle.
So
because it has like a huge battery as well, right?
Yeah, it's a 107 kilowatt hour battery. So if you use and this supports 200 kilowatt charging, 200 kilowatts. So 10 to 80% takes 31 minutes. If you use AC charger, it's going to take like 11 hours.
Provided that you have the supported charger, 200 kilowatts, right?
Yeah, that's the maximum charging rate. So you can plug at Gentari's
350 kilowatt.
Yeah.
I tried my EV6. It supports
237.
200. No, it supports the 350 kilowatt charging, right? But maximum I got was 237 kilowatts, and that's faster than That means it's faster than the EQS.
Yeah, because this one is big, and then from the looks of it, it's capped at 200 kilowatts, so it's slower.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else is interesting about the EQS.
Well, at least despite being CKD, right, they keep most of the toys, all the
Of course, it's an S class. You have to have all the
yeah.
technology.
So despite the cheaper price, they didn't cheapen out in terms of specs. So you still get the hyper display with 3 displays in the dashboard, and you also have the rear steering assist.
Yeah, the 4-wheel steering thing.
So apparently you have a turning radius similar to an A class.
Yeah, which is not great, to be honest.
Which one?
The A class turning radius.
This is great. Yeah, but at least it's that level. Yeah.
Despite it being a longer car,
Yeah, and then you have screens at the back, comfortable seats, and you also have a tablet in the center, armrest as well. So yeah, all the same stuff, same safety features as well.
What's interesting about the EQS is among all of the Mercedes fleet of electric vehicles, which is weirdly enough, they have a different name for it. So they have the EQ name for all the electric vehicles. So you have the EQA, EQB, EQC, EQE, and then there's a G coming, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The interesting part, I don't know whether it's interesting. It's a point to note is A, B, and C, right? The electric offering is actually subpar, to be honest. In terms of specs, right? I would, like, for example, if you get the EQA or even EQB, buying it, if you are buying it, you're just buying it because it's a Mercedes. Because spec for spec, the Kia EV6 is better. The Ioniq 5 top spec is better.
Even the Volvo XC40 is better in terms of power.
Even the iX3, which I think is subpar in terms of electric vehicles. I mean, you can get better electric vehicles lah. Yeah. iX3, not the iX.
Yes, actually, I think it's a good all-rounder for its size, the range, and the power. Compared to the EQA, EQB, and EQC.
Which are similarly priced, right? So the EQA is about 300,000, the EQB is about 330, which is about the same price as the iX3.
Yes.
You know, and you have cheaper offerings. Even the Atto 3 is, I guess, would be better. Better than the EQA.
Yes.
EQA has 190 horsepower, front-wheel drive motor, and that's pretty much it.
And it's not a dedicated EV platform.
Yeah. So what I wanted to highlight also is, if you really needed a Mercedes electric vehicle, the EQS is actually one of the best.
Go big or go home.
But the price lah, 600,000 ringgit.
But imagine this, right? If you like, let's say you're like a big boss, big CEO and all that, right?
And your company is paying for it.
Yes, I would say the S class feels more boss than this car, because I don't like the design of EQS in terms of front, because it has a closer grille. I think it can be executed better.
Yeah.
It's designed by engineers.
Yes.
For aerodynamics, because it's a core drag efficiency of 0.2, which is crazy good.
Okay, I agree. I'm not sure whether it's designed by engineer. It's designed to meet a brief, and the brief is to make the car as aerodynamic and as efficient as possible. And because of that, you have to make it as aerodynamic as possible. And to make cars aerodynamic, what Mercedes formula is to flatten the front. So that's why all the EQ range of Mercedes cars, you look at the A, the B, and the C, and the S, the front is flat. It is not proportionate to the size of the vehicle. So if you look at the GLB, for example, the non-EV version, it's squarish and stout and macho. Then you go to the GLB, right? You have a really flat nose at the front and a really tall back at the rear, and you have this weird long lights at the front and at the back. It's messy. I don't like it either, and I agree. And I think that's pretty much it with regards to the EQS. So the bottom line to that is, if you're getting an electric vehicle, Mercedes is probably not the option unless you're getting the EQS, which is, to be honest, for 650,000 ringgit. If you are looking to spend that amount of money for a car, I think this is one of the best you can get. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Okay, now let's move on to another. Okay, we've talked about cars. Now we move on to applications or shopping applications. Okay, Shopee, better known for their shopping platform, and it's funny because I just got off a flight. I came from a flight, right? And you know, like when you land, you will turn your you turn off your airplane mode, right? And then you start hearing in the plane like ping 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 and all that, right? It was funny because when I landed in Kuala Lumpur and people start turning off their airplane modes, the first notification I heard was Shopee. Okay, with regards to notifications, I want to tell you this, right? So if you turn on your notifications, you don't turn it off. Like for me, I turn off all my notifications except for SMS because that's the least notification I get. Even and phone calls. So phone calls and SMS, I turn it on. But I have a do not disturb timing, which is at like maybe 11 o'clock, I think. And nothing rings except for emergency contacts like my wife or my
Close contacts.
Yeah, that's it. Other than that, nothing turns on. Even my WhatsApp, even the pop down window, what do you call it? Like a thing.
The threaded whatever thing.
That I turn that off. I turn off the everything, even the red dot on the app notification.
Okay.
The reason why I do that is because I control when I want to check the app.
Yeah.
So like if I have an order on Shopee, right, what I do is I'll just check lah. Okay, where's my order? Has it arrived or not? So that way I'm not addicted to the phone lah. Now, speaking of Shopee, Shopee is now offering loans. What is going on there? What's the lowdown?
Yeah, so we've been tipped about this new feature. So Shopee has
intriguing.
So Shopee has rolled out a feature called SLoan, basically Shopee loan lah. So it's somewhat similar to S Pay Later. So S Pay Later is like a buy now pay later. You buy stuff and you can pay it the following month. But this is an actual outright loan. And in terms of interest, they're quite similar as well. They're charging 1.5% per month or 18% per annum. So it's kind of like credit card kind of charges. Or actually higher right now. And from the screenshots, it looks like they're offering cash loan up to 100,000 ringgit. And besides having the cash inside your e-wallet, you also can choose to withdraw out to your bank account. And if you want to withdraw to a bank account, there's additional charges as well. So they charge 5 ringgit per loan withdrawal out. And the interest is calculated, on a monthly basis. And if you default on the payment, obviously there will be penalty charges. They charge 8% per annum on overdue monthly installment, and it's calculated on a daily basis. So,
you're screwed, man. 8% per annum calculated on a daily basis.
Yes, correct. So let's say, for example, this calculation here. If let's say your repayment amount is 3,000 ringgit and you overdue by 10 days, the late penalty would be.
No, you mean not default. You mean if you pay late.
Yes, overdue. So the longer you delay, the more interest is going to occur for the overdue fee.
Yo, this is not sloan. This is slow along.
It's something like
that.
It's like authorized, got license lah. And then so let's say 3,000 ringgit, right? If you overdue by 10 days, that penalty is at 6 ringgit and 58 cents.
That's crazy, man. Hey, is this regulated? So I know that Bank Negara has like a digital license. They issue licenses for digital wallets and stuff like that. So that's why people like Touch and Go and all, if you are creating an e-wallet, you need an e-wallet license, and that entails a few things. And for you to also provide soft loans, so as pay later is not considered a loan because it's credit, so it's different because you buy something and then you pay for that, right? So it's different. As loan is very borderline money lending. Actually, it is actually money lending.
Yep, correct.
So is it regulated? Because this is worse than banks, man.
Well, they are licensed because
they are licensed to money lend.
Because they are powered by C Money, SEA, because Shopee is under C Group anyway. So they have the license. And they also one of the recipients of the digital banks as well. So they have the license to operate as a digital financial solutions provider.
And being regulated does not entail how much money you can extract from your customers. That means they can charge as much as they want in terms of interest and penalties.
Well, I think for this personal loan, there's something that I'm not very familiar with, but I feel that the banks have their own leeway. At the end of the day, it depends on market forces. You choose the plan that has the competitive rates.
I think you can't say that because I think we discussed about like how micro loans are dangerous because the barrier of entry is lower. It's much easier for you to get the money, but it's very difficult for you to pay the money. And with interest like this, if you skip a payment, right, you're screwed, man. You're in debt for life.
This is somewhat similar to like those credit companies that's non-bank. They also have the from what I know is that the rates are higher than normal banks. Yeah.
But the risk is even if you have blacklist or whatever, you probably get a loan from them.
Possibly. Yeah.
So I guess that's what you mean by you shop around lah.
Yes.
But there is kind of like a friction there because I have to physically go to the credit company, submit my documents and get the loan. It's a bit more difficult. With SLoan, the process I assume is just via the app.
Yes, correct.
It's super easy.
Yeah.
I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's dangerous, even if you have options, because the money is just there, and people who don't have good
Credit standing or that. Yeah.
not good credit standing, but they don't have good education in terms of managing funds,
Yes.
having access to easy money up to 100,000 ringgit is crazy dangerous.
Of course, the approval amount depends on your eligibility. So the 100,000 is basically, they didn't mention it black and white. This is what we've seen from the screenshots. Yeah. So it shows it up to 100,000 ringgit. But of course, the loan amount, it depends on your qualifications as well.
You know what's also crazy dangerous? It's all parked in your e-wallet.
Yep.
And we talked about like how, I don't know whether you remember this, but I remember we talked about how it could be like a dystopian future. Like it's parked under an e-wallet. It's kind of shady because one day it could be there. One day, the next day, the e-wallet provider, the loan provider can impose like really, really crazy fines and just take that money out for no reason. Because in the agreement, they will say, "Oh, we reserve the right to change the whatever."
I think it's similar to banks because, like, say, banks, if you don't owe money, if you owe them money, they can find ways to recover the loss.
They can find ways, but there is a process, and it's very seldom that they take the money from your account directly, and it's not done immediately. So I'm not sure whether having a money lending license mean that you also are as strictly regulated as banks. I don't think so.
So I don't know. For me, to be honest, I don't know which specific body they get this approval from. It could be Bank Negara, it could be from Ministry of Finance, or it could be from the Ministry of Housing and Local Government, because they're the one actually offering licenses to the credit companies and all that stuff. Yeah, so it could be from that as well. Yeah, so depends. So I am assuming that if this lending license from the Ministry of Housing and Local Government, maybe it's not as rigorous and as clear cut as normal banks.
So the Ministry of Housing and Local Governments is the authority that issues money lending license to credit companies, correct?
Yes, correct. So it could be that way. So that's why they can charge.
That is friggin' dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you share my sentiment, or do you have another opinion on this?
For me, I think I share your concern that, people who are not financially literate, they can fall into a trap and you go into really bad problems. Like, you get this loan because you have a problem, you want to solve the problem, but if you don't do it right, you can get into a bigger problem, and it's going to be like an unending race to the bottom.
Yeah, it's scary because remember I started the segment by saying that the first thing that I hear when I landed was the notification Shopee, right? Yeah. You know how they can gamify everything, right? And for me, it's dangerous because they can like hide this or disguise this as a game in a way that apply for the SLoan now and get up to 50,000 ringgit, but only for this period. And it's the interest is like super low for this period. And because you want to get it now, you don't actually read the proper terms and conditions. It's like, okay, 50k, I can pay 50k, not a problem. You just take it. And then you realize, this interest rate is only for 1 week. And then you're screwed. Is it already available or what?
Only for selected users, so I don't have it yet. So depends, because it's been rolled out in other countries. From what I checked, it's available in Philippines for a couple of years now. So this is the first time in Malaysia, but it's only for selected users.
I wonder how they select the users.
I don't know, but for me, is 18% is quite high. You want to really get a loan, it's much cheaper to get from banks.
Yeah, for banks you can get like what, 2%, 3%.
Even credit card, right? If you're good paymaster, the rate is 15% per annum. So this is much higher than credit card.
I tell you who the selected users are. Okay, in banks, right, the selected users, the preferential users are the ones that they know that in the bank they have more than 1 million ringgit. Because they know they can see that, and from that data they can say, okay, this guy can afford the loans, can afford the expensive credit cards, blah 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 blah. With Shopee, I think it's the other way around. It's the people who spend a lot. They will have like an algorithm where they go like, okay, this person is just at this borderline where he can just barely make up with the SPA payments, but he's paying it. I think we can give him credit because he has this from his payment record or from his SPA record. He has the ability, not ability. He has this habit of just borrowing and paying just in time.
From what I've seen, the loan has fixed terms, so like 3, 6, and 12 months. So it's a fixed term lah.
There is fixed terms, but what I think they have come down to the algorithm where they have data where the data can already predict the spending psychology of a person.
And of course, for them, right, I was like for any company they want to earn from interest, right?
Mm.
You don't want to target people who can pay off everything fully.
Yeah,
you want to pay enough to pay service the interest.
Yeah.
And complete payment. Those who can pay full, I don't want you.
Yeah.
I'm not earning a single cent from
Exactly,
you.
because let's say if I only have X number of money to lend, right? So let's say I have 100,000 for the sake of mathematics, right? I can give it to you, and you can pay me back in 5 months. I don't earn anything, and you pay on time, whatever. I don't earn anything. So my 100,000 cash that I can lend to maybe 5-10 people for 10,000 ringgit each, that I can make more from them. I'm losing from you.
Yeah, I better go for the post who can go higher amount and then longer tenures.
And probably skip some payments.
Yep. True.
Yeah. So
beware of the trap, guys.
if you see SLoan option, I mean, I don't use SPay. Do you use SPay? Is there a benefit to use SPay?
The e-wallet or the buy now pay later?
Buy now, pay later.
Oh, I stopped already. Last time used to be good because if you use buy now pay later, SPay later. You can shop now and then next month you just pay in full, no interest charge. Now the moment you use SPay later,
there's already a charge.
There's already a charge. So like, what's the point?
Yeah.
The reason why I want to do that is so it's convenient. So I can just buy first and next month, okay, just pay the bill like a postpaid bill. Now you charge you interest.
So if you can, I mean, pay. I mean, you can afford to pay everything one shot, right? Just buy and pay one shot. If you can't, then save up. I mean, that's just basic financial literacy right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all about SLoan. I hope you... Okay, let us know what you think. Comments, suggestions, your thoughts on SLoan, whether it's a trap or not, whether you use it or not. Okay, the final segment on our show today is about back to EVs, and it's about EV incentives. So again, this week, Tengku Zafrul, the person that launched the EQS 500, the locally assembled Mercedes-Benz top-of-the-line EV, also announced some interesting EV incentives. Some of them are new, some of them kind of like repackaged.
More like he's teasing lah. So
what did he say specifically?
So he said during like a EV conference early this week, and he recapped on saying that Malaysia is committed in terms of achieving its zero greenhouse emissions, and then they have a long-term strategy to convert more vehicles on the road to electric and all that. So he recapped the incentives and all that, and he said at the end that the government hopes to announce more incentives in the coming amended budget 2023, which is sometime next week. Yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah. So basically, recap what's going on right now. So firstly, he said that for right now, for local assembled EVs, including like the EQS, the Volvo XC40, C40, they're currently tax exempted until the end of 2025. That includes the import, excise, sales tax exemption. But for the imported EVs, basically all other EVs in Malaysia right now, including the BYD Atto, the tax exemption for those imported EVs is currently exempted until 31st December 2023. So during the previous tabling of the budget 2023, just before the election, he did mention that he wants to extend the exemptions for imported EVs until the end of 2024.
Wow.
So I'm not sure whether that's still on the table or not. I think another pertinent issue is the actual cost of owning EV, because there is one more incentive, which is the road tax, which is currently exempted until the end of 2025. And as brought up by a lot of people, including Paul Tan, that after 2025, the road tax for EVs are going to be super expensive.
It's crazy expensive, man.
Because the structure of how road tax is being charged for EV is based on the power output by kilowatt hour.
Yes.
And to give some context, like for example, if you get the Hyundai Kona Electric E-Max, which is like a regular compact SUV, they can produce 200 horsepower, 150 kilowatts. The road tax for that is 903 ringgit. And
that's for ICE, right? Oh no.
That's for the
EV.
Yes, a Kona Electric EV.
E-Max.
Yes, 150 kilowatt. 200 horsepower
is
903 ringgit. This is actually quite similar to the BYD Atto, which I think will be the most popular EV in Malaysia.
Okay.
And if you look at the petrol version, the Hyundai Kona 1.6 turbo N-Line that pushes similar horsepower, 195 horsepower, the road tax is 90 ringgit, 10 times difference. So there's a huge disparity there. So
crazy.
So there are two things that could happen. Number one is whether the government will look into restructuring the road tax structure, because I don't think this is fair. Because how could an EV with equivalent power, equivalent size, same size, being charged 10 times more than ICE cars? And if you want to encourage people to go for zero emission vehicles, this is not the way to go. Or number two is, while figuring it out, will the government extend the road tax exemptions?
Yeah.
Because this will affect the adoption. Because people think, oh my God, if I buy EV now, yeah, it's cheap to run. But after that, what happens to road tax?
Yeah. For like the EV6, for example, the road tax is about 3,000 ringgit a year.
Yeah.
That's excluding insurance. So you're gonna look at paying what, 5,000, 6,000 ringgit for just to get your cars road legal.
Yes, and then like even like Aura Go Cat, right? It's 141 horsepower, 105 kilowatt hour motor. That's 324 ringgit. It's like I think it's more than a Camry or something like that.
Yeah. The funny thing is, our road tax structure, right, has been around since the colonial days, and it was done because back then the richer people could afford the bigger engines.
Yeah.
So that's why our road tax was based on engine size. But move forward, 50, 60, 70 years, we're now in a situation where cars don't even have engines, or cars that have smaller engines can produce more power. You talk about, like, for example, the GR Yaris, 1.6 3-cylinder engine producing 300 horsepower. The road tax is only 90 ringgit.
Yeah.
But the car is 300,000 ringgit.
Yes.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then you go, like, for example, maybe the...
Like, pass me down old Mercedes 3 liter, they're gonna pay like 1,000 plus.
Yeah, a 3 liter V6 or 4 liter V8.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay it in the thousands, right? Then you go into like maybe the the AMG A class, the A45, which has a 2 liter engine. Road tax is probably maybe 100 ringgit. I don't know.
Yep.
Produces about maybe 300, 400 horsepower.
Yeah, that's like, and in the car's like 300, 400,000 ringgit.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
That's right.
So the issue of restructuring and re-looking at how road tax is being priced in the country has been going on for so long. I'm not sure whether the government is even looking into that, because it is a lucrative money, not to say money making, but they collect a lot of money from there.
Yeah, it's a substantial revenue for the government as well. So
yeah.
you need to look at it carefully. And of course, at the end of the day is that you want to get people to adopt zero emission vehicles. You have to make it enticing. I would say at least on par with the petrol, not like 10 times more, like what we've seen just now.
Yeah, I guess maybe the issue is if it's on par, then, you want to have... I'm trying to think like a netizen now, but when I think like a netizen, in my mind, right, I already think like, that sounds stupid. I cannot even say it. No, because I would think people would go like, oh, if the EV is getting so much incentives, why are ICE not getting incentives? Already that sounds stupid, right?
I see some commenters say, oh, no need to give further exemption because EV is for T20s only. No, the thing is, the world is moving towards EV. This is the future, and of course, this will affect not just the expensive vehicles like EQS, but also the cheaper vehicles.
Okay, well, I think the commenter has a point. It is not yet accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And despite the current tax incentives, EVs are still expensive for majority, for the masses.
Yeah.
So for you to make EV adoption, for you to grow EV adoption, I think the commenter is right. It's touching on a good point. How do you make it accessible? Putting out like this, I would call stopgap incentives, like, oh, you have no road tax, you have no sales incentives and all, doesn't change the way that cars are being priced in the country.
Yep.
It doesn't change the sales levy, the sales tax, and the import tax.
Yep.
And the one that makes our car prices high is the import tax.
Yeah, and excise duties as well for even like locally assembled cars.
Yeah, so for you to make cars accessible, I mean, okay, despite... People can argue that despite having that structure, you still have affordable cars in Malaysia. And people could argue that, hey, you know what? If brands like Volvo and Mercedes can make top-of-the-line cars in Malaysia and make it 50,000 ringgit or 30,000 ringgit cheaper, they can bring in their cheap models and make it cheaper here in Malaysia as well. I mean, there are cheap EVs out there that's based on ICE platforms like the Kia Kona, the Hyundai Kona, the Kia e-Niro, but it's not sustainable because the Malaysian market is... We are maybe the number 6, number 5, I can't remember. Least we in terms of population we are small, but our buying power we are high. Despite being not the most populous country in Southeast Asia, we are the we are in the top 3 when it comes to buying cars.
Yep.
So the buying power is there. That's the proponent for keeping this tax structure lah. But I think the idea is if you eliminate the tax structure, which was there to actually protect the local car manufacturing industry like Proton and Produa, which is irrelevant now because Proton is 49% owned by Geely and Produa is essentially Toyota. There's no point protecting the local Proton and Produa brands, right?
I think we should look beyond the local Malaysian brands because at the end of the day, right, we should attract more local assembly because regardless of what brand, Volvo, Mercedes or Toyota, if you make the EVs here, you create more jobs and there's more technology transfer. So we should look at that. So it's like Thailand, as for example, you know, there's no national Thailand car brand.
No.
So basically, they attract these foreign companies to set up factories here, create more jobs and develop the industry here. So I think that should be the end goal.
Yeah, you're right, and that's what I wanted to say as well. Is you need to let the industry flourish despite without playing favorites to anybody, and that's I think the only way that you can bring EV prices down. Not these incentives that Tengku Zafrul has announced lah.
Yeah, but also another thing is in terms of raw tax as well, because I think this will also impact the cheaper models to come in. Let's say, for example, BYD, they also have cheaper models. There's also Chinese startups in China who have like super affordable EVs as well. And if you want to come into Malaysia, right, let's say that raw tax structure is not restructured, right? So, okay, what's the point for me to bring these cars in when people will not buy because they know that, the raw tax is going to cost a lot. It's going to cost more than a MyV or even cost more than a CRV. What's the point of getting a cheap EV when it's expensive to run in terms of raw tax?
Yeah, you go back to what the commenter said, right? So what's going to happen is maybe 5-6 years down the line, if this structure doesn't radically change, then you're going to have a segmentation where those who can afford EVs will buy EVs, but those who can't will just buy ICE.
Yep. And
there will be no like impetus for the industry to move towards zero emission vehicles. Like I think Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, we've covered this, I can't remember, but we've covered this. They have set a deadline where they will stop selling new ICE vehicles in the country. I don't think Malaysia has set that deadline yet. And the reason why they have not is because they have this crazy structure. And if they don't eliminate this structure, you will eventually come to a future where you have two classes, those who can afford EVs and those who can't. And you will never move to a zero emission industry.
Yeah, and I think that's partly due to our local national brands. Like, for example, I think Produa, in terms of EV commitment, isn't as strong as what the country wants to do. So I think they're pushing for more hybrids first. And Proton, I think they only want to sell EVs like in the next 1 or 2 years only, a bit later than the rest.
Yeah, and you mentioned Proton, right? So Proton is even more weird because they are 49% owned by Geely. Geely has their own electric platform. I think...
they have lots of electric brands as well.
Yes, they have their own electric platform. They have not mentioned about bringing any of them here. And the funny thing is Proton has also signed up with Smart to distribute Smart #1 electric vehicles in the country.
Yeah, why not assemble them here?
Assembly is one, but where is the impetus for the owners, the co-owners of Proton, to bring new EVs into the market and assemble it here?
Yeah, exactly. There's no encouragement.
Because the government incentive for the industry is not enough. The incentives are only concerning the consumers. Yeah, that's where we stand. So he has kind of teased the incentives, but have not set any solid incentives. I remain skeptical because I don't think the incentives will change the industry. I don't think so.
Yeah, something drastic needs to be done lah. So giving incentives long term is not sustainable, and like I think like what people say is right, it's benefiting T20s.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's our show for today. We covered all the segments. Let us know what you think. If you have any thoughts and comments, if you want to chime in on and give your thought about what you think about what we talked about today, please do drop us a comment in our YouTube page. If you're listening to us on podcasts, we are available on podcasts. So just search for Sorry Chin Chow. Let's talk about, and we're available where you find podcasts. And for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up if you like the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop your comments and suggestions in the comment section below. For those of you who are listening to us on podcasts, you can also send us a voice note at
let's talk about at soyachinchao.com.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is me, Amin.
This is Alex.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.